Another movie review for you. This is Float Like a Butterfly, which was initially released in 2018 but had a wider release in May of 2019, and it's directed by Carmel Winters, and it's a lovely little film. The cast: Hazel Doopy plays Francis, Dara Davini plays her father Michael Joyce, Johnny Collins plays Francis's brother Patrick, and we have other notable supporting cast. And I'm just trying to track them down, basically, through my notes. Apologies for that. Basically, we have Michael's parents, who are significant in the plot, and other travellers. The movie was a subject of some awards, most notably in Ireland, where the Corkfish Film Festival of 2018 it was awarded Best Film, and the award obviously given to Carmel Winters, who wrote this as well as directed it. It was nominated at the Dublin Film Critics Awards in 2019, and also at the Glasgow Film Festival, nominated 2019 for that, and also was notable at the Toronto Film Festival in 2018. Got a special prize there. So what have we got? Well, it's set in the Emerald Isle of the Republic of Ireland. It's in the 1960s, and it focuses on a family who are Irish travellers. Some of you might describe them as gypsies. I don't think they were that. They were just travellers, described affectionately as tinkers, and they move around the country in their wagon and their horse-driven wagon, finding places where they can live for periods of time before they're driven away by the local police or the local governments, who basically don't want them anywhere near there. The focus of the movie is on a family. At the first scene of the movie involves the family, and at that particular time, the mother is evident. She is heavily pregnant. Her husband is there sampling alcohol at a frenetic rate. He's a real boozer. And the two children are also there, as are the grandparents. And it appears that there's a sing-song of Irish folk songs. This is quite prevalent throughout the movie, and a very nice touch it is too. And what takes place is that local Garda police arrive on the scene, and they're out for blood, and they are there to arrest Joyce with regard to matters that are less clear at the beginning. And what happens is there's a conflict which then involves his wife, and it turns very ugly, and she's struck by one of the police, falls to the ground. She's heavily pregnant. It appears that the fall has set off a chain reaction. She starts to bleed from the womb, and we then witness Michael's arrest for basically refusing to go quietly, and we then find out that he ends up in prison, and that his wife dies, and the child is lost. So we're now faced with a situation where we have the two children, Francis and Patrick, who are living with their grandparents, and it's a bit further down the road, and we find out that Michael is about to be released on parole. So basically the story revolves around how the young teenage girl, Frances, manages to take on board the role of the mother for her young brother, and at the same time acts as a sort of a sign of acts as a little bit of a control over her father's behaviour. He's a typical man of that time who enjoys his liquor, is prone to gambling, and gets rather hostile and violent when his authority is challenged. He needs to be put in check by those around him, and his own mother attempts to do this. And what we see is how Frances, who's also at an age where she's a teenager, she's becoming more aware of the issue of males in the community being domineering, and she is determined to fight her corner and develops an interest in boxing, and is thrilled by the presence of the current heavyweight champion of the world, Muhammad Ali, and is inspired to show what she's made of and not capitulate to males of her own age who attempt to bully her. And this side story prevails throughout. Michael is determined to try and make his son a man, and Patrick is a rather not withdrawn sort of child, but not really atypical sort of young boy who wants to follow in that macho style. And so to an extent his sister Frances steps in to protect him and to also challenge the sort of view of the males that boxing, fighting and all that bits and pieces are really only the domain of the males. And so we have a film that's challenging that sort of stereotypical view of society in Ireland. We see incidences which involve the family decide to move out and head for Dublin for, I guess, more prospects from work, and this turns rather sour when their caravan, or whatever you call it, is attacked at night by a group of right-wingers who basically are angry that the horse called Buttercup has been tucking into the turnips in the local field, and so they kill the horse and their dog, and Michael and the two kids flee the scene, and then he decides to check out an old extended family member, and that all turns rather sour because of his booze, and he starts to become quite aggressive in their house with his daughter, which is uncalled for. And so we get a picture of life in this family which is pretty tough, and of course they aren't very financially well off. They're travellers, and they try to make ends meet and have a degree of fun and pleasure through music. We hear a lot of folk Irish music, and it's really a very, very nice piece of work. I enjoyed it. The character Frances, played by Hazel Doopy, a tremendous piece of work. It's a very Irish film. It epitomises Irish values to a large extent, and but this running through the film, this acceptance by a female of having strength and not being typecast as weak, is at the core to the film, and it's told with a sensitivity. It's not over the top with violence, and it's a film that you can appreciate for the real sense in which it's put together. So that's my take on Float Like a Butterfly.